I want to ask you a question, and then I'm going to show you a tweet.
Here we go.
It's about rivals being scared of Arsenal, right? I want to put this tweet out from Rory. Rory Talks Football. He said here, they hate Arteta but can't tell you why. They hate North London forever but can't tell you why. They hate that we're confident but insist we should win the league. They hate that Declan Rice isn't average but can't tell you why. What they actually hate is that we aren't their default banter club anymore. Most of them grew up with Arsenal being an easy target. Are rival fans now in a position where they are fearful of what Arsenal have become or are becoming? And is Rory right that all the kind of hate that they're getting now is just because there's no logical reason to call Arsenal crap anymore? Do you think there's any truth to that?
There is an element of truth that Arsenal are no longer this banter football club. They are, they've put the foundations in place. This process. And I call it as I see it. They've done well.
Lee's going to be in your DMs in a minute. What are you saying?
Yeah, Lee will probably message me. But at the end of the day, you can say what you're going to say, but I don't remember the last time Tottenham, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool did it with Klopp, have stuck by a manager through thick and thin. The minute we finish 8th, the manager's sacked. The minute you lot finish 7th or 8th, the manager's sacked. They've given him £600-700 million. He's brought through a lot of talented players. Ben White, Partey, Ramsdale, Timber. But just taking Lee's side to a degree, other than the FA Cup in his first year, they haven't won any major honours. And they've been they had two fairly easy games in the Europa League, Olympiacos at home and Sporting Lisbon at home. And and before anyone says, they had bigger fish to fry, they didn't when they was against Olympiacos, and they lost 2-1 at home. Sporting Lisbon, you could say you had bigger fish to fry. When it come down to crunch time, though, Arteta's arsehole falls out, mate. He is not I will stand by it. He is a fantastic, probably one of the best coaches in the world. The way out they play football, but as a manager, when it comes down to these big decisions, he don't deliver. Man City last year, home and away, absolutely played them off the park. Oh, but they won the Charity Shield. They won a dinner plate. Congratulations. I think there's an element of truth to both sides. Rory is right. Rivals are now no longer calling them about a football club because they've put the foundations in place to be serious. But at the same time, Arteta, if he doesn't get top 2, top 3 this year and win a cup, you've got to axe him. You have to sack him. If he finishes third and doesn't win a cup, you've got to. He's got 700 million quid or 600 million quid. And they're not, other than Manchester City, there's no one else in the league that's really that much better than them.
I look at it from this sort of point now. I said earlier about it takes time to build the standards. In terms, it takes time to build a team that you can legitimately hold to those standards. You can hold them to those standards from day one, but if they're not good enough, they're going to fail, and then you're never going to build.
Their 4th year now.
You could actually argue that the way in which the squad has been ripped apart and rebuilt, you were applying those standards to that squad from day one by saying, well, you lot ain't good enough. What we're going to do is bring people in that will develop into being good enough. So I think they've been applying those standards. You don't always see the fruits of that labor until further down the line. And I think that Arsenal are now at a point where they have to they can execute those Bayern, Real Madrid, Man City levels of standards now. As you say, if they finish third, nowhere near the top, and don't win a trophy, I think most Arsenal fans in that context would look at it and say, if there's a better manager who plays, again, what they can't do is change styles of football and need massive squad overhauls. It needs to be someone that can come in and win.
They'll go and get, don't you?
Who?
They'll go and get De Zerbi. 100% play their style, and it will be exactly everything
he could be the guy. So he could be considered the guy. I think they have to have those standards now, Arsenal, because the rebuild is complete. But I also think there's an element here where as rivals, because I know I feel this way, it didn't matter how bad Man United were in the last decade, up until the last season or so, Arsenal always looked at as, you're in a worse place because of where they were and what they'd fallen to. They were banter FC, and I think that they were always like, misery loves company, but no matter what happened to your football club, Arsenal were kind of always there to take those headlines away from you. And I think that sort of bothers rivals a lot. I also look at it from the perspective of, even if this is the thing I would say to people, Arteta not winning with them isn't going to make them fall apart. I do believe that if Arsenal, if they don't quite go over the line with Arteta, they're just going to bring a better manager in, which means they're going nowhere. I really do think Arsenal will realize you have to build something that is sustainable and lives beyond any one particular manager. So for me, it's a case of, if Arteta starts winning, that's a bad sign for us, because I think if he does learn how to win major trophies, he ain't going to stop.
Yeah, then it's
curtains. If he doesn't, they've got an amazing squad. They're just going to bring a better, like in our eyes, they're just going to bring a better manager in to manage. So it's for rivals now. This is why I think the fear exists. People say, oh, they haven't won any trophies yet. We know the major ones. We know that. But they're going nowhere, whether Arteta wins or loses. They're just going to bring another manager in. I don't think they're going to break it down and go, right, here starts another 4-year project again. If they do that, by the way, amazing. It means they haven't learned from the mistakes of the Man United and other clubs. You can't have new projects. You start a project and then you just add to it forever, essentially, which is what the Bayern Munich's,
even if they did finish
everybody
third,
do, depending on the money they've got.
Even if they did finish third and didn't win a major honour, I don't think they'll sack him. He's so embedded in the club now. He's got a dog called Win when they haven't won anything other than an FA Cup. You know, they are an elite PR machine. You can't say a bad word about that football club, otherwise you're quote unquote another league gunner, right? Everything it's so positive, but at the same time you have to give constructive criticism at times and say, hang on, Arteta, you haven't got over the line. What was the difference between 2016-17 season when Tottenham finished runners-up to Antonio Conte's Chelsea and last season for Arsenal? It was zero difference. Apart from Arsenal led the league for 94%. But all they did was, all Tottenham did was put the pressure on. You put the pressure on. But you can't say that about Arsenal because, if you can't see what Arteta's doing, mate, you can F off down the lane. You know, you can't say a bad word about them. You get called salty, typical Tottenham fan. Like, yeah, they're playing great football, and it pains me to say it, they're a very good team. But you have got to get over the line this season. You have to get over the line. If you don't, serious questions have got to be asked. You know, Man United in their first season with Ten Hag won an FA, won a League Cup, got top 4. He achieved more than Arteta did. But then the narrative is, but Ten Hag got 200 million quid. Who cares? He got over the line. He got a trophy and got top 4.
That bit I 100% agree with. This here says, Mikel Arteta is great, but a wanker. 2, never heard of that song. 3, that's not that it's not they are confident, they talk like they've won it all. 4, Rice is great, not elite, is what Anton says back to that. I think that's to the comment.
Yeah, that's